Baby, I noticed you with someone. And I need you to know that I'm not saying that with anger. I'm not saying it with blame. I'm not coming to you with accusations or jealousy dressed up as something more acceptable. I'm saying it because it did something to me that I wasn't prepared for. Something that cracked open a part of me I didn't fully know was there. And what poured out of that crack was so honest and so raw and so completely unmistakable that I have no choice but to bring it to you. I have no choice but to sit down across from you, as close as these words will allow, and tell you exactly what happened inside me in that moment. Because you deserve the truth of it, and because I think, somewhere in the quiet place where you keep your most honest feelings, you already know some of what I'm about to say. I noticed you with someone and my whole body knew before my mind did. That's the part I keep coming back to. My mind was still processing, still doing the reasonable thing, still trying to contextualize and explain and find the most logical interpretation of what I was seeing. But my body already knew. My chest had already done that thing it does. That sudden tightening, that shift in pressure, like something has rearranged itself in there without asking. And my hands had already stilled, and my breath had already changed quality before a single conscious thought had formed. That's how I knew what I was feeling was real. Because the body doesn't perform. The body doesn't construct responses designed to seem appropriate or understandable. The body just tells the truth, immediately and without editorial. And my body looked at you with someone else and told me a truth I had been half knowing for a long time without fully letting myself know it. It told me that I love you, that I am in love with you, that somewhere between all the moments we have shared and all the feelings I had been carefully managing and all the times I told myself that what I felt was something reasonable and contained, somewhere in the middle of all that careful management, I had fallen completely and irreversibly in love with you. And I didn't know the full depth of it until I saw you with someone else. Until I felt what it felt like to imagine that someone else might be standing where I wanted to stand. Until the possibility of your love being directed somewhere that wasn't me became real and visible, and I understood, with the kind of clarity that only pain can produce, exactly how much I wanted it directed at me. I want to tell you everything about that moment. I want to walk you through it slowly, because you deserve to understand not just what I felt, but how it felt, the specific texture of it, the way it moved through me like weather. Because it wasn't simple. It wasn't one clean emotion I could identify and address and move through neatly. It was layered and complicated, and it surprised me with everything it contained. And the very first layer, the one on top, the one that arrived first, before anything else, I have to be honest with you about what it was. It was not anger. I want to say that clearly. I know that might be what you'd expect, and I understand why. Jealousy and anger are supposed to go together. That's the story we're told. That's how these feelings are supposed to present. But that's not what arrived first. What arrived first was something much quieter and much more devastating. What arrived first was something that felt almost like grief. A soft, private, completely unexpected grief. Not for something I had lost, because I had never had it to lose, but for something I suddenly understood I wanted more than I had ever let myself admit. The grief of a door closing on a room you didn't know you needed to be in until you heard the latch click. That sound, that click, I felt it inside me and something shifted permanently, and I have not been the same since that moment. And I don't expect to be, and I don't want to be, because the person I was before that moment was someone who was managing his feelings into something small and safe, and the person I am now is someone who knows exactly what he feels, and is no longer interested in making it smaller than it is. I want to tell you about the person I saw you with, and I want to be fair here, genuinely fair, because this is not a story where I need to make someone else into a villain in order to explain my own feelings. I don't need to diminish anyone or find fault or construct a reason why you deserve better, as though my love for you requires a negative case to support it. It doesn't. My love for you is its own argument, complete and self-sufficient, and it doesn't need to stand on anyone else's failure. So I will say this simply. I saw you with someone and they seemed fine. They seemed decent. They seemed like a person who was glad to be where they were, standing near you, receiving whatever it was you were giving in that moment. And that gladness, that simple ordinary gladness of being near you, that is what undid me completely. Because I recognized it. I recognized what it feels like to be near you and be glad about it, because I have felt it. In every moment I have been near you, with an intensity that I now understand I had been drastically understating to myself. I looked at that gladness on someone else and I thought, I know that. I know exactly what that feels like. And I want it. I want it not as something I observe from a distance, not as something I recognize in others while withholding it from myself, but as something I live inside, as something that is mine to feel openly and completely and without apology. I drove home that night in a silence that had weight. Not the comfortable kind of silence, not the peaceful end of a day quiet, but the kind of silence that is actually very loud on the inside. Full of everything you're not saying out loud, full of every feeling that is too large and too new and too overwhelming to translate into words yet. I drove home and I let all of it be there, unmanaged, unedited, just present and enormous and honest. And somewhere on that drive, somewhere between where I had been and where I was going, I made a decision. I decided that I was done being someone who kept this inside. I decided that whatever it cost, whatever risk it carried, whatever came of it, you were going to know. You were going to know exactly what I felt and exactly what seeing you with someone had made me understand, and exactly what I wanted, said plainly and without decoration, in the simplest and most honest language I could find. And so here I am. This is that conversation. These words are that decision made real. I want to tell you what I want, not in vague terms, not in the careful language of someone who is protecting themselves while appearing to be open, but specifically, honestly, with full exposure of everything I am hoping for. I want to be the person you come to first, not first out of obligation or habit, but first out of genuine desire, because something in you, when something happens, when you have a feeling you need to share, or a thought that needs another mind to receive it, or a moment of joy that becomes more complete when it's witnessed, turns automatically in my direction. I want to be the direction you turn. I want to be so woven into the fabric of your daily life that my absence is felt the way you feel the absence of something essential, not as an inconvenience, but as a real gap, a real missing, a real wanting. I want to know your voice at every hour, not just the voice you use when things are fine, not just the measured, composed version of you that moves through public spaces with grace. I want the early morning voice, rough and unguarded, before you've put on the day. I want the late night voice, soft and honest, when your defenses are down and what comes out is pure and unfiltered. I want the voice you use when something has genuinely delighted you, the one that has a different quality to it, lighter and more alive. The one that makes everyone around you feel the delight secondhand, just from hearing it. I want all the voices. I want the full range of you, every register and every key. And I want to be the person for whom you never have to choose which version to present, because all versions are welcome and all versions are wanted and all versions are, to me, equally beautiful. I want to be there on your hard days. And I want to say something about this, specifically because I think it matters and I think it sometimes gets skipped over in favor of the more obviously romantic images. The hard days are where real love lives, not the celebration days, not the easy, uncomplicated days when everything is going well and being loving costs nothing. I mean the days when you're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. The days when something has worn down a layer of you and you're thinner than usual, more tender, less able to manage the distance between yourself and the world. The days when you need someone to simply be present, not fixing, not advising, not trying to silver line anything, just present, just there, just a warm and steady and completely reliable presence that asks nothing of you and offers everything. I want to be that presence. On those days especially, There's something I've been thinking about since that night I saw you with someone. Something that has been circling in me and asking to be said. I've been thinking about all the times I held back. All the moments I felt something moving me toward you, and I redirected it, managed it. Told myself it was not the right time or not the right circumstance, or that I needed to be more certain before I spoke. And I look back at all those moments now, and what I feel is not exactly regret, because all those moments also brought me here, to this, to a clarity and a willingness I might not have found without them, but something adjacent to regret. Something that sounds like a quiet voice saying, you had so many chances to say this sooner. So many moments that were asking you to be brave, and you chose careful instead. I am choosing brave now. I want you to know that this, everything I am saying, everything I am giving you in these words, is the bravest thing I have done in a very long time, maybe ever. Because I know the math of this. I know that opening yourself completely to another person is a bet with no guaranteed return. I know that saying all of this clearly and honestly and without protection means accepting the possibility that you might receive it gently and kindly and still not feel it the way I feel it. I know that loving someone the way I love you is not a transaction. It doesn't come with a contractual obligation for the other person to love you back in the same proportion or in the same way or at all. I know all of that, and I am saying it anyway. Because the alternative, remaining silent, remaining managed, watching you live your life from a careful distance, while this enormous feeling sits unused in me like a